and leave the rest in the pot. And then I'll just go back to the pot a little more often instead of pouring a full cup. That's helpful sometimes too.
Well, that's good. You're getting up and getting exercise.
My step counter doesn't hurt it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry I had to miss your meeting last month.
It's okay. That's what the recordings are for. Hopefully it was
Well,
for fun reasons.
I did go through all the recordings also. I did watch everything, but I just had work done on a tooth and it was killing me. So
Yeah.
I went back in and they said, sometimes when it's a little deep cavity, you got to give it time, and it's easing. It's better.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I've got some dental work I have to get done too. I've been putting it off. Fortunately, I can put it off. Unfortunately, I've been putting it off. That's the that's the issue.
Yeah.
Oh,
No worries. How you doing?
Do we have, well, we got 15 people on? No, how many
Yeah.
people we got on?
yeah, it looks like 16 people. I'll wait another couple of minutes before we kind of dig into this. We do have a lot to cover today, but yeah, hey, as we're dropping in, drop into the chat here. What's your favorite after dinner beverage if we don't like dessert? Laura says Vinsanto. Sherry, what about you?
I would say I kind of like a little coffee martini.
Mm.
It's not real, they're not strong, but just digest the food better.
Yeah. Yeah, funny story. I used to
I'm not a big drinker, so but that would be probably something I could handle after a meal.
I can see that. I had a customer one time. He's Italian, and we went for a drink after dinner, and he ordered us some sambuca and had 3 coffee beans in it. And this was an unreasonable pour of sambuca. Like, it was enormous. I mean, we both looked at each other, kind of laughed. We were like, "Are we supposed to drink all of this? It's like 9 o'clock." But I used to represent a German company, and so I had colleagues from Germany that would come over sometimes, and I had one in particular. Whenever we were out after dinner, you did not want to get up and go to the bathroom or anything like that, because when you came back, there'd be a double shot of Jägermeister in front of you. He would make sure, and it was like, "Why are you doing this?" And he would say, "Oh, it helps. It's herbs. It helps the digestion." It's like, listen, you didn't go to college in America. You don't know what Jägermeister does to your digestion on a Friday night, right? We got to think about this stuff.
I got you. But how was the coffee and the sambuca?
Oh, and the sambuca, yeah, the coffee beans mean something. There's 3. It's like, I want to say it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but that's not what it is. It's it means something. It's something symbolic in the Italian culture.
Got you.
It's a garnish, really. But good morning, Laura. Good morning, Scott, Patty.
I believe most
Doug?
restaurants before morning. I believe it's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The 3 in the coffee beans.
Oh, there's Doug.
That
Good
could be
morning,
it.
Doug. I just got off the phone with him.
Morning.
Good morning.
Got a lot to get into today. First thing I want to do before we get started, I see Thomas Wickham is on the call. Little birdie told me earlier you were selected as DSR of the month by our financing partner.
Okay.
So everybody give Thomas a nice round of applause. Fired up for Thomas, doing good work out there. I like that. Okay. Let me dig right into it, because we're 3 minutes after the hour. We got 23 people here. There might be a couple more people popping on. But what we're talking about today, and as we go through the 7 steps to sell like you, step 2 is know your best customers. And I'm going to mute Sean so that you can take that call. Step 1 was know yourself. Step 2 is know your best customers. And before Scott Hall gets on my case, we'll change that to partners from customers. And I think that's more than just a punchline that I'm going to go back to the well on over the course of this training program, but understanding what makes a partner versus a customer. That's what we're up to today. That's what's important for us to really understand, and not just who they are, but also why they would buy and why they wouldn't buy. And I want to thank everybody between this cohort and the B cohort that'll be seeing this or going through this session in a couple of weeks. I got, I think, pretty good responses to the survey. So thank you for putting that stuff together. Last time I wanted to make sure that we were thinking about these questions, we could come prepared to discuss. Today, that survey was not only to think about some things, but I also wanted to take your temperature on some things. And I've used some of those answers to populate this deck with quotes and some things that are, were directly mentioned, or certainly some themes that came out of your survey responses. But I also want to shift your thinking a little bit, and I want you all to dig a little deeper in today's session. And at the end of the session today, I do have a challenge for you that I'd like you to I'd like you to do. I would like you to accept this challenge over the next couple of weeks before we meet again, because it's vital for understanding who our best customers are going to be, why they would be our best customers or could be, and why they may not be. And that comes down to focus. So I asked you 3 questions. Who are they? Why would they buy? Why wouldn't they buy? And the first question is, who are they? And obviously the key customer types that came over through the survey: healthcare facilities, senior living facilities, that's a big one. Chain restaurants, for some of you, particularly in the Midwest. I know Firehouse Subs is a big deal. Independent restaurants. A lot of people, particularly in the Florida branches, in the Carolinas branches, work with these independent restaurants. And also there's a big portion of the business that's in hotels and hospitality. The reason that I put these here is not just to tell you who you sell to, you all know this, but I want you to think for a second and recognize the differences between each one of these segments. And each of these segments have different needs, they have different goals, they have different desires, and that means that we need to sell to them differently. And so as you think about developing your book of business, you think about developing your territory, you think about developing, whatever term you use to describe the accounts that you call on and manage, think about where you can lean into your strengths with working with those particular segments. Think about how you may have to change your approach for each of these segments, because their buying motives are going to be different. So when we look at those 4 segments, let's dig a little bit deeper. And you all did a really nice job of thinking about what your best customers actually appreciate, what they care about. So they're repeat buyers. They're loyal. My best customers, they keep coming back year after year. They refer other businesses to me. Good. We're going to spend more time. We're going to pay more attention to those. We should. They're going to be partnership minded. They're going to want more than just a good price. They're going to want someone who's got advice. They're going to want someone who feels like maybe a coach or a consultant, someone who's out there seeing what's going on in the marketplace and can help them take advantage of those trends, maybe avoid those trends if that's appropriate, but someone who's looking out for them, gives them professional advice. They're built on trust-based relationships. Maybe they have your direct phone numbers. Maybe you have their direct phone numbers, but they're asking for that guidance. They want a partnership again, and they appreciate your expertise. Last session, we talked about what we bring to the table. Talked about that expertise. We talked about the little extra. We talked about the know-how. We talked about how we have some former operators in this group. And, what is that knowledge base that you bring? What is that wisdom that you bring that your competitors in the field don't have? How do we lean into that? Now, my question for you is, and I'll ask this of the audience. So anybody who wants to pop up, let me ask you, how do we build this loyalty? How do we earn this trust? How do we show them that we're partnership minded and not just saying that? Because anybody can say, oh, we don't have customers here, we have partners. There's a difference between saying that and actually showing it. So I don't know, in your minds, how do you earn that? Go ahead, Doug.
You deliver what you promised. You say what you can do, and more importantly, sometimes you say what you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you follow through, and then you follow up. So they feel like you've never left them.
So how do you earn the right for that kind of consistency up front, though? Like, how do you earn that for someone who doesn't know you? With your existing customers, excuse me, you've been calling on them, working with them for years. When you're going out in the field and finding a new customer, how is it that you earn that right, or how is it that you accelerate? Maybe you take an inbound call, someone needs something, you get them what they need, and great, you've got a relationship. But like, how do you double down on these aspects of a good relationship?
You try to you try to see what to fulfill their needs, in the sense that you bring a customer to them, you bring a sale to them. You again, I'm on the manufacturing side, so it might be easier for me. So for me, it's a matter of someone is looking for something, and then I can bring that customer to, say, Scott or one of the other people here, and I would earn their trust because I feel that I did part of their job for them and got them a customer that they didn't have prior to that. I used to do that all the time as a rep, and that's how I would get following as a rep. Was I would seek out the end user and work him through up the chain.
That's a great way to do it. Thomas, DSR of the month. Your thoughts?
Yes. You know, my first is always being genuine, you know, and having a genuine concern for your customer and their business. You know, how do you do that in the first 30 seconds? Yeah, I don't know. You know, you really have to connect and you know, be that chameleon, right? We talk about different customers, and so, you know, learning to identify this customer, how they need to be treated as quickly as possible, and then being genuine and having a genuine concern for their business is kind of first for me.
Awesome. So being flexible.
I would say too, Jeff, what helps, this is Mel, is
Hey,
if it's a cold call situation and you're just getting to know each other, then bring examples, bring a resume with you. Bring, you know, hey, we've done this elsewhere. And this is how we did it. And this is, you know, and lean into some of your successes, some of your failures, but start to open up a little bit, bring some examples of what you've done in the past that they can relate to.
Social proof, big deal. We're going to come back to social proof a bunch of times, particularly when we dig into opportunity creation and growing the book of business. But Mel, that's a great call out. Thanks for saying that. So I didn't have to. Glad you're using that. Anybody else? And I'm just going to say this too. There's a lot of people who are pretending like I don't know that their cameras aren't on. So if you're in a position where you can do that, please flip them on. It makes these sessions a lot more effective and quite frankly, a lot more fun. All the note takers are here. That's always fun.
And I feel that we have to have a quality product with competitive pricing. I'm on the kind of like the manufacturing side too with Intedge, but I'm, you know, we have to offer excellent customer service. We build loyalty and leads by repeat business. And my little quotation is, trust is not bought, but it's something you've earned. So, I mean, that's one of my big things that I have when I deal with my customers. You know, I try to act in their best interest, deliver on my promises, and offer them a good quality product at competitive pricing.
You certainly have to have that. There certainly has to be some value exchange there. What we're going to lean into, and as I advance through the questions here, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this second question: why would they buy from me? And there were some answers in the survey that I thought were good. But again, like I mentioned, I want to start thinking about understanding what's really motivating these purchase decisions. Sherry, you're right. I'm not arguing with that at all. Quality product, competitive price. Doesn't have to be the lowest price. Can't be so far higher or so much higher that it's outside the ballpark, right? But
Correct.
you know, if we're not thinking about the non-price reasons that people would buy from us, we will never build loyalty. One of the things that I learned early on was that you're going to lose business the same way you win business. My mentor taught me this. Says, Jeff, you're going to lose business the same way you win business. If you win it on price, someone's going to beat you on price, and that's going to be the reason that you lose that customer. But if you win by understanding what's important to them, if you win by making sure that they know they can trust you, if you win by doing the work to earn those two things that most people aren't willing to do, then not only will you win the business and hold on to it, but you're going to hold on to it longer than you would, because who else is willing to do that kind of work? Who else is willing to really learn that much about their customers? And the plain truth of it is most sales reps are not. So while we have uniqueness in every customer that we work with, there are also some themes that come into play for each one of those customer types. And so every time you walk into speak with a customer, you know, ask yourself, what are they trying to solve here? What's their priority? What's on their mind? You know, do they need my assistance? Do they need my expertise here? Is that something they're looking for? Do they even know they can ask for it? How do I present myself in such a way that I can be a partner to them instead of, you know, just offering them a price? And for that matter, is that something that they value? Along those lines, what are the expectations of their suppliers, and what's really important to them? Not every one of your customers is going to need that expertise. Not every one of that customer, every customers is going to need a you know, a consultant on their side, right? But is this someone who aligns with our value proposition? Is this someone who knows what success looks like for them, and how can I help them get there, right? So these are the things that we need to be thinking about. And what I've noticed from talking to a lot of you, what I've noticed from spending some time in the field, you make your calls, you have your route, you do the things that you need to do. Sometimes you inadvertently will stumble on these buying motives. Other times, you know, you may miss them, right? We go back to something I mentioned in the very first time we met. If I asked 100 sales reps why their best customers bought from them, 80 of them would not know. 80 of them would make an assumption that would be wrong. So the key point of today's session is leaning in, paying attention to the customers, like Mel mentioned, the social proof we already have. What do our best customers really take from us? What do they need from us? Also, why do they buy from us? What is it that we understand about their motives? What is it that we understand about what they're trying to do that maybe separates us from other sales reps who are just out there trying to get a foot in the door with maybe an initial offer, and then we'll work the price and the margins up after we've been in. Sean, I'm going to come back to you. Why do your best customers buy from you? You're muted there. Sorry.
Accountability, dependability.
Say more.
Negotiation.
Accountability and negotiation. That is not what I expected to hear. My interest is piqued. Please say more.
I'm a man of my word, so I never break my promise. So that's accountability. Negotiation, I'm always looking to see what the other price is from the other customer or what they're looking at. And if I could get close to it, or if they buy something, I'll throw in something else of value, and kind of makes it even out like a barter system. And plus they get my professional advice on the kitchen stuff on what to get and what not to get.
How often do your best customers beat you up on price?
It actually depends on the culture group actually, but I'd say 33% of the time.
That is an oddly specific number, Sean. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So a third of the time. And look, some of that time, sometimes, look, your customers always need to know that they're getting a square deal, right? We've already talked about this. You know, when you're an independent restaurant, particularly, you know, every dollar counts. We've all seen the really nice, really amazing restaurants that just can't uphold that level of service because margins are so thin that even though you're really good at what you do, it's not a meritocracy and stuff falls through the cracks, and sometimes those businesses fail. But at the same time, there are other ways that you save them. It's not always about the money. And I think if we always, again, if we make it about money, they're going to make it about money, and then we tend to lose in that situation. We have to remember that all the reasons that we choose to work at this place are because of these non-monetary values that we provide, and that's important to keep in mind. Thanks for sharing, Sean.
Oh, you're welcome.
Call on Carl Stanley because I saw your camera was on. Carl just crossed $1 million in sales, by the way. Congratulations, Carl. Saw a note about that earlier this week.
Thank you.
You don't get to $1 million without knowing something about why your customers buy from you. Why do your best customers buy from you?
I'd have to say it would come down to, again, we're a different business, so to speak, from the rest of the group. So
okay,
it really comes down to phone presence, knowledge, and then building rapport with the customers, assisting them with what answers they're looking for and trying to help them find the best solution for their needs.
Do you have repeat business?
Oh yeah, we have repeat business.
What are the when you talk to those customers, why do they come back to you? I mean, building rapport over the phone, it's a skill. It's a skill you can develop, but you have to, building rapport is more than just saying the right thing at the right time. It's about developing a real connection that shows that you understand them, right? So, you know, how do you do that?
Get them coming back, or
well, I mean, sorry, I mixed up two questions in there. One is, how do you keep them coming back? There's something about building rapport that is more than just developing, being sharp on the phone, right? Like there's like, how do you understand what they really need? What are there questions that you ask that you kind of separate yourself from other people? You know, they can call you because you're an inside rep. You don't have a physical presence with them. You know, your connection to them is strictly over the phone, right?
Yes.
Cool. So what is it that you feel that you get into with your customers? What are the priorities that you feel that you address with them that nobody else does?
That's kind of a tough question. Caught me off guard on that one. It's kind of hard to say because it just depends on the customer specifically, but it's just trying to find out what it is their needs are and making sure you match them and making sure that you do that time and time again. So it's consistency. I don't know if that's going to answer the question.
It's a great lead in to what I want to talk about, Carl. So I appreciate that. It's a tough question to answer, and you're right. It's going to differ every time. But I guess my question to you before we go to Doug here and before I dig into the next slide, you know, every customer is different, but do customers always know what they need?
No, they don't. And we've got a lot of customers that'll call in. I would say the majority of the customers that we speak to, they've been shopping. So a lot of them do come into the conversation knowing what they're looking for. Okay. And those are I don't want to say the simpler kind of conversations to have, but when you have a customer that knows what they're looking for, that's half of the conversation out of the way. But then we'll have customers that'll call in and they'll start off with, "Hey, I need a sink," and then there's no specifics, so we have to go from there. Well, are you looking for a hand sink, a compartment sink, and fill in the details as we go, faucets and pre-rinse sprays and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of times where we work with customers that don't necessarily know exactly what it is that they're looking for. So we have to help them fill in the gaps.
Appreciate that, Carl. Thank you. No, that's a great answer. Doug?
Yeah, I think everyone has said it in their own way, but the listening. I mean, we've used all sorts of different communication skills, but if you actually poke a few questions and listen and actually show that you're listening to the customer, you find that they appreciate that very quickly. That at least once, even if you are listening all the time, once you're actually able to display, a feedback that they connect with, you've started a relationship there. And I think a lot of people like to talk, especially in sales. They want to, they have their bullet points of things I got to tell you about this product. It's made in the USA. It's, absorbent, whatever. But very rarely, and they may get through their whole pitch, if you will, without ever hearing a word from the person they're talking to find out if this is even applicable to what they're looking for. So I think, the silent salesperson, the person that actually listens and tries to address the needs, are the ones that continue a foundation, have a solid foundation to start a good relationship with.
Love where this is going. Thanks, Doug. And thanks again, Carl. Here's what I'm hearing. You make the customer feel listened to. You you make sure you understand the product that they're trying to buy. You ask the right questions to get them talking about what they feel they're looking for, right? And then you show them some expertise by maybe giving them a few options, maybe explaining the differences, features, benefits, things like that. All of that is really good salesmanship. What I wanted you to think about now, and what I'd like you to do, is dig a little bit deeper. And I want you to think about the difference between helping someone select the right product and helping someone solve the problem that they're trying to solve. And this is where we get into the differences between those four main customer types. And this is what will help you not only deepen the relationships you have, maintain the loyalty that you're looking for from that business, but it will also help you to grow from that customer base. And from some of the conversations I had early on in this process, some of the reps on this call, or in primarily on this call, are at about capacity. There's only so many more accounts they can handle. Maybe you can grow a little bit. But there are a lot of people in this training program that have plenty of room to grow. And the reason we dig so much into what our best customers look like is because we want to create more like our best customers, not just take any customer that'll come in. And that's a tough thing to balance, when you're thinking about the growth expectations that the company puts on you and, who's available out there in the marketplace to call on. So the more we can understand our best customers, the more we can replicate them. And what I want you to think about is the difference between putting someone into the right product, or helping understand or helping them understand the problems that they need to solve by understanding what it is they're actually trying to accomplish. I learned this early on in my sales career and was fortunate enough to spend some time working directly with Jeffrey for a few years to recall that, or to learn that understanding buying motives is 1,000 times more valuable than learning selling skills. And I think what we've talked about to this point are very good selling skills, but they're selling skills. They're at this is a medium level, right? what top performing salespeople do, particularly in consultative roles, is they go deeper. They go a level deeper, and it elevates them to a higher level when they really understand what these customers are trying to accomplish. And not only what they're trying to accomplish, but what are the constraints that exist. So when we think about, the different customer segments that we serve, every segment has its own different constraints. And if we're not checking ourselves against these constraints before every sales call, we're harming our chances of making the sale. And the more we lean into this understanding of these constraints, the more we can empathize and connect with them and build that rapport. Carl, you talked about building rapport. You can build rapport really quickly. You can tell a joke. You can share a story about, your past weekend, or maybe what your kids are doing, this evening, or whatever. There are a lot of ways that you can use small talk to build rapport, but that builds rapport for the call. Building rapport for the relationship means you understand these people on a level that they weren't expecting. And you can do that quickly by digging into these priorities. And it's funny, I was talking to someone actually out on a podcast I recorded earlier this week. And he said, he started a lot of his sales training. The first thing he writes up on the board is nobody cares. Nobody cares about your product. Nobody cares about your company history. Nobody cares about that stuff. Eventually, we get them to care because it helps them justify their purchase. They feel really good that they bought something at a high quality for a reasonable price, a competitive price. That's how they justify their purchase. But the reason they purchase, the reason they make that purchase is because they're trying to solve a problem, or they have a concern. Maybe it's something that keeps them up at night. Maybe it is something that they're just driven to accomplish. But those constraints or those priorities are the things that they wake up every day thinking about. And it is really important to connect with those priorities so we can show that we understand them. And when we show that we understand what they're trying to do, not just what they're trying to buy, that's what cements that relationship. And what I found is most people, when I say this to them, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But most people aren't thinking about that before every sales call. So that's my challenge to you. So as we go through this, what are the healthcare professionals? What are the healthcare chefs or kitchen managers thinking about? They're thinking about compliance and keeping their residents happy. That relates to price, usually relates to price, because they're also quite budget constrained. But they're thinking about compliance. And they're gauged on patient satisfaction scores and whether or not they keep their license, right? That we get back to compliance. But they're thinking, will this help us serve better meals given those constraints? And when you understand that to be their primary motive, and every recommendation you make, you can connect back to that, that's how we build rapport. That's how we build loyalty. Chain restaurants want consistency. Is this consistent with our brand? If I go to one location or the other, do I know what to expect? It's like, I know that there's a Starbucks in just about every town, and the coffee's fine, but I know what I'm getting every single time. I've become a bit of a snob as I've worked with a couple of coffee companies and some other restaurant companies. It's like, oh, I know what good coffee's like, and Starbucks isn't quite what it used to be to me. That's fine. But you know what it is? It's the same thing every place I go. That means something. So yes, do they have costs that they have to mind? Yes. Do they have needs for a certain product? And is it going to play the role that it needs to play in the restaurant, in the location? Yes. But their primary motivator is making sure that we are meeting the brand standards across the chain. And they're measured, by how efficient they are and, their same store sales growth every year. Right? So again, most people will say, no, I need a lower price. And I saw a lot, and I looked at that survey, almost everybody talked about price, which is why I'm leaning so hard into the non-price values that you can bring here. Most customers will resort to price as the weapon they have or the tool that they can use to make sure that they're accomplishing their goals. Well, I can make it work, just at least don't make me overpay for it. But when you can show them that you're helping them achieve their overarching priority or objective, you're going to build that rapport, that trust a lot more quickly. We look at independent restaurants. How do we compete with those chains? How do we provide something different? How do we provide something memorable? How do I provide an experience for my guests that's going to make them want to take a selfie with their meal and tag my restaurant in it because it was so awesome? With them, you may make some recommendations. I don't know if Leslie Gilmartin's on this call, but I spent some time with her, and what she did a really nice job of when we were out in the field together was she made some recommendations based on the vibe of the restaurant, based on what she knew that they were trying to accomplish, the experience they were trying to provide. That's what master level salesmanship looks like. So are we thinking about their goals, or are we just helping them select a product? The sellers with the most loyalty think about the goals. Hotels and hospitality, it's similar. It's about memories. Are they having memorable experiences? Are my guest satisfaction scores going up? And is there a way that by providing that kind of experience, I can increase the revenue per guest, essentially, per occupied room? Thomas, I'm going to go back to you. Thoughts on this?
Can you hear?
I can hear you now. Up, you just muted again. Let's try here. Try now. There we go.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Pose your question again.
Oh no, just I've been talking for a while. I want you to say something. What do you think?
Well, you know, of course we don't want to talk about price, even though it's there, and you know, when you talk about elevating yourself and really talking about like Leslie did, putting yourself in the restaurant and making suggestions. Yeah, I mean, we all try to do that, you know, and we try to do it as quick as possible and do it with as much thought as we can, you know.
Cool. Tammy, are you in a place where you can talk?
Yes.
There we go. Thoughts?
My thought is that, you know, I built my relationships with my customers when they were at a point in their careers. For instance, sous chefs, you know, they were just getting started. I make a point when I walk into a restaurant or the back of the house somewhere, I make sure that I either, if able to, I shake that person's hand, I say hi. I stop, I have a conversation with everyone. I make sure that I ask everyone how their job is doing, what they think that they could happen to make their job better. And as they grow, I grow. And as I grow, they grow, because we all grow together in that industry, no matter it's a restaurant, a hotel, a convention center, hospital. It doesn't matter, because they remember that, the point that I made it, I touched base with them every time I walked in. They all know my name. And as people grow in the industry, they take you along with them. They start to trust you. They start to communicate with you. I mean, some of them, they want to be personal friends, but I make a point not to have that relationship. You know, I don't go to barbecues at their houses and things like that, but I do have a personal relationship with them. I have personal conversations with them. They, you know, ask them about their day, make sure that they know that I'm an ear to listen to that's not going to go anywhere else. So that's how I built my side of the business, and my relationships with my customers is that I'm there no matter what. And I'm always going to communicate. And I'm a visual person. So when they say something, my face tells them what I'm thinking. Some of them like it. Some of them will turn around and say, well, what's your thought on that then? And I'll tell them. And I'm always I'm to the point about things. I joke with them. And they ask me a question about a caster, and I'll say, well, okay, get down there and tell me what it looks like down there. I, I'm not always the one that gets on the floor. I ask them to work with me, and they'll do that. As the years go by, they will start to do that. They will start to interact with you and not just say, this is what I need, go look at it. They want to learn as much as I do. So that's what I try to do with the customers that I have at this point.
So you feel like your customers, well, let me say this, let me be careful how I say this. You feel like your customers feel like you understand them because you've just been calling on everybody for what feels like forever. And you've just kind of always been there for them.
Mhm.
And they feel heard, seen, understood, and they can count on you.
Yes. And
Is there a-
I'll also tell them if I think they're going in the wrong direction. I'll tell them if I think that they're going in the wrong direction on something. I try to present when new items come out, but unfortunately in my part of the business right now, it doesn't matter what I present that's new because they have a whole marketing department that's telling them what they can and can't buy. So that fun part of the business has pretty much been taken away unless I go to an account that's not part of the national account system.
Got it.
So, but yeah, so I try to work with them, but they know I'm going to be honest with them about something. So
Thanks, Tammy.
you're welcome.
What we're talking about is making sure that we can connect to the real priorities of our business. And what I will say and how I've arrived at this and why I've trained on this for so long. And what I believe is, I think the key to every sales rep's success, whether inadvertently or on purpose, is that when we have existing customer relationships that we build over time, it's because they feel like we have their actual priorities in mind. We can stumble upon these or we can do it on purpose. And we don't all have, what I've always kind of tried to decipher was every sales rep who's been doing something for 10, 20 years in the field, they say, you know what, Jeff, it's all about relationships. I heard that so much when I got started. It's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. All right, how do I build relationships? And I thought one of the best ways to build relationships, because it was what I'd always seen, was, oh, you got to spend money to make money. So you go out there and you buy people food and you take them out to play golf, or you do whatever you do. You entertain them, try to make them like you, because hopefully if they like you, then they'll do business with you. Tammy, you just said it. I don't want these people to be my friends. I like them and all. They're great. I want to see them do great, but I don't want to go to your barbecue. So what is that relationship built on? Their needs, according to their priorities. And when you sum up the last couple of slides, and I put this together for you so it'd be really easy for you to screenshot and have it as a resource for you. But they're thinking every single time. Healthcare, they're thinking, how does this help me serve enjoyable meals while staying in compliance? Chain restaurants, how do I support consistent operations across all my locations? Independent restaurants, how can I compete with an experience and stay profitable? And hotels, how will this enhance the overall experience, right? And if you can connect with those motives on every sale, and if you're thinking about those motives, if you're trying to break into a new relationship, if you're trying to break into a new account, when you have the ability to connect, you build the speed to trust accelerates. And that's what we're trying to do here. Laura Malik, let me ask you, are you thinking about this stuff when you make your calls, or are you intrigued by the idea of thinking about this stuff when you walk into calls going forward? Is Laura with us? If you're speaking, you're on mute. All right. How about Chad Munzer?
Hey, good morning. I think regular visits and quick responses, whether it be by text, phone, or email, and also showing being enthusiastic and offering options.
I mean, well, when I talk about connecting with their real priorities, is that something you consciously think of, or is it something you think you kind of stumble on?
A little bit of both. I mean, when you go in and you talk with them, you start seeing where they're coming from. You want to go that direction with them.
Mm-hmm. I guess, does the customer always know where they're trying to go? And that's where I was asking Carl earlier. Does the customer always know what they want? They know they need a rinse sink, but I mean, digging into what's the rinse sink going to do? And is it connected to the overarching goal of the business?
I had a thought, this Sean.
Yeah.
Restaurants come in, they're so ingrained with service. And when we connect, we're looking at a mutual benefit for them and for us because we have a symbiotic relationship. They're also serving their customers so much that when they're looking for something, then it's my turn to serve them, to help them with their needs and their product and their price, and directing them towards something that, like Tammy was saying, is this the right product for me? Well, we don't know. Let's do the questions, and whoever's asking the questions is in control, and then we come to a result, and we've served the customer, and then the customer in turn goes back to their establishment to serve their customer.
No, thanks for that. That's, are you serving them the way they want to serve their customers?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. No, that's the bar that you want to make sure you cover. Sherry, I'm curious because you're working on the manufacturing side, you and Doug. How does this stuff apply to you? What are you thinking about as a result of this conversation this morning?
Well, I'm thinking. I'm taking this all in. I'm taking notes. I think just having knowledge about our product and knowing the competitor's product really helps us open the door. I guess it's all just about having knowledge and being there for the customer and checking, with them to see if there's something new that they're looking for, or do they got a project that's coming that there's something that we could, maybe supply them with. So I guess just being there for them and asking those type of questions.
That's a great place to start. That's a great place to start. Let's
Thank
move
you.
on here. I want to, we think about, again, no arguments. Everybody across the board talks about knowledge and expertise, the trust, right? And building those relationships, actually caring about the business, not just trying to sell a product. How do we get there faster? The way we get there faster is about thinking about the things thinking about the things that our customers are thinking about, but that other sales reps aren't, and making sure we connect to that. So let's move on to why they wouldn't buy. Survey results were pretty consistent with this. Price and cost concerns. They don't trust me. I'm new, so I have some knowledge gaps here. And, maybe our lead times don't work for them, right? This is all, I think, pretty consistent. I think we have to think that, and I don't know, is an anonymous survey, but I like this. If cost is more important than service and quality, then there's no relationship. That sounds like a senior salesperson who said that. I don't know if anybody wants to own up to that one, but are they buying a product or are they getting engaged in a partnership? And these are the things that we need to think about. Now, how do we dig deeper here? Any discussion on why your customers wouldn't buy from you, or did we get that covered? Mel, I know you made a comment earlier. Are you still around? Can you comment on this?
I mean, it's that old adage, quality, price, or service. Pick two, you don't get three. Sometimes it just depends on what they're looking for and what you're trying to provide. I mean, I also use the word when you're as far as their goals and visions and wanting to align is accountability. Who are you calling on and who are they accountable to? Like a franchisor and a franchisee relationship. That franchisor is accountable to the franchisee. So, that's an indicator there that you want to, to execute your plan and do everything that you can do to make sure that franchisee is happy and taken care of. So, it's like a football coach. Every play works on paper, but it always comes down to execution.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
that's where I'm at on it, Jeff.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome.
The reason that I ask why your customers wouldn't buy from you, this is important to maintain your focus. Knowing where, and using Mel's football coach analogy, knowing the dimensions of the playing field. There are some things that they can buy from you, and there are some things that they can't. Tammy, you mentioned this too. You're like, look, they're contracted for some items, and some items they're not. They basically know what they are even I know what I'm even able to put in front of them. There's a lot I can't even show them because they'll never be able to buy it. That's really important for focus purposes. And the classic example that I go with is if their current rep is their niece or their nephew or something like that, then yeah, that they're probably going to keep a lot of that business in the family. Are you aware of that when that happens? And do you know what to show them as a result? Do you know to stay away from them? I used to, being out in the field, I'd drive by customers where it's like, oh man, there's that customer. I should probably go in there, but I get kicked in the teeth every time I go in there because, I know they're buying from somebody else. And I know why they're buying from somebody else. And there was one day I finally gave myself permission. I said, you know what? They're not going to buy from me, and it's not because of me. So I don't need to waste my time, waste my energy, waste my resources, waste my bandwidth on that. That allows me to focus on where I can make an impact. It's important to have those guardrails up. And so, go ahead.
So to touch on that, that's also how you build trust with your customer. So if you're something that you just know, don't put yourself in that predicament. One, it saves you a lot of headaches. And two, your customer will trust you more when you acknowledge that you can't get something there on time, or no matter what you do or what you try, you're telling them and you're letting them know, and it will build a huge trust when you admit that you can't help them with that, as much as you'd want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Being able to just call a thing a thing. One of the things that has consistently come up as we've, come through these discussions has been, they trust me. I shoot them straight. Nothing makes a sales rep look worse than trying to force a sale that'll never happen. And so not going down that path is a really valuable thing. But again, we get back to understanding the kinds of customers that we have being able to connect with the priorities that we know that they're thinking about, being able to address the things that other salespeople don't address, and doing that right off the bat. You know, when I go in, or when you go into maybe a new franchise. Sorry, let's use an independent restaurant, because I see Dupree's on the call. I know he works with a lot of independent restaurants. Dupree, when you go in and maybe it's someone brand new, if you can address right off the bat, hey, look, I'm here to help, and I know what you're trying to do is to provide a world-class, unique experience that stands out from all these other ones here. You address that right off the bat, they're paying attention to you on a level that you hadn't been paid attention to before by them, right? That boosts it right away.
Correct.
And so now we're on that page, and we can work together now at a different level. And most other sales reps that are out there are going to walk in, they're going to say, here's our catalog, here's what we can do from you, here's what's on special. You want to buy anything? And they're going to say things like, I'm here to build relationships, I'm here to have your back. And then, but they're not going to follow through on that. But the sooner you can make that connection to what's really important to them, the better off that relationship is going to be right off the bat. And that's what we're trying to do here. So knowing why they would buy, knowing why they wouldn't. And when you know those parameters up front, you can be much more focused with your delivery and your service.
Very true.
Dupree, I just kind of called your name out because I knew you were here and I knew you worked with independent restaurants. You have anything to add? There really wasn't even a question there.
Well, one thing I'd like to compound on is what Tammy said about the talking to a lot of people would go in and they're going to focus on the owner and the chef mainly, because that's who's authorizing the orders. That's who, where you're getting your business from mainly. But I'm with her. I go in, I say hey to all the dishwashers, line cooks, sous chefs, get to know them, because they do, like, I just did a restaurant, opened up a couple months ago, that was a sous chef at another restaurant that I'd opened, and she'd just seen me for 7 years coming in every day, and she wanted me to help her open hers. And so, I mean, those connections, and she knows that I can do it and make it happen, and all the things. And so that stuff is invaluable. And even at our most expensive restaurant here, Hall's Chop House, the dishwasher there is now the head chef. And I've seen him rise up even from them, and from just working in the dish pit over the past decade. So to being nice and talking to everybody, it definitely pays off, because they're constantly moving to new ones. And as there's been a super shortage on chefs, especially since the pandemic and everybody went to new fields, they're reaching out at hardly anybody to come open up. What I'm seeing is they're getting some not super qualified chefs to open places because they can't find anybody else. But if they know me or know you, then they come calling for you again. And I get a lot of, just like Tammy was saying, you get a lot of, that helps me out more than most things. But
Thanks
then,
for that.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to wanted to chime in when she was saying that, because I thought it was very poignant.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dupree.
Thank you.
So here's the challenge for you. Learn from every customer interaction. When's the last time you asked your customers why they chose us? When's the last time you got that direct feedback from them? And my challenge to everybody out there managing an account, whether you're an inside seller or an outside seller, ask the question. Ask the question at least twice. We're going to meet again in a couple of weeks. I think it's 3 weeks. So in the next 3 weeks, actually, I'm going to challenge you. You can do one a week. I would love to hear you do more, but at least once a week, ask a different account why they bought from us. What do they consider? What are the things that they need from a supplier? And I would ask them to be as specific as possible, because chances are they're going to stay on the surface with that question. But get yourself in the habit of asking. They're going to feel validated by you asking. That's going to help your relationship. If you are handling mostly inbound calls, or if you're in the showroom and handling walk-ins, maybe it's a consistent account that comes into the showroom all the time, but maybe it's a new person. Ask the extra question. What made you think of us? What brings you back? These are the little things that are easy to take for granted over time as we just get into the routines of doing our jobs, but we can't ever lose sight of why that customer is buying. There's one lesson I want you to take from today. It's that it's not about how we can sell them. It's about what are they trying to accomplish? Why are they buying anything anyway? When we understand what's really motivating them, that's when we can really connect with them and build the relationships that you are all saying are the foundations of the success of your business. I really want you to think deeply about how to build those faster and how to keep them. We got about a minute left before we're done. Does anybody have anything to add? Going once, twice. Roll on into the weekend, everybody. Appreciate your time today, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great meeting. Thank you.